Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Trappers, Trails, and Tales. So in this little episode we're just going to be doing some prep work for the upcoming season. It's around the first week of August, but just because the trapping season is closed doesn't mean our work is done. So in this little episode I'm just going to be making my favorite muskrat floats. As we all know, 99% of my rats are caught on floats, just due to the fact that they regulate with the water up and down, and they're always working no matter how much the water either rises or drops. Okay, so we start here. All I have here is basically a board. This is all scrap lumber. You don't have to go buy anything. You just root around, and any old lumber you find there, that's all I use for my floats. Second thing I use is a chunk of wood. You can see right here, this is pine. I usually like cedar, but pine will work just as well. The only aspect of this that I'm going to be changing is normally I have this set up for 2 traps that goes in between these logs. This year I'm going to extend this board past the log, just wide and long enough to sit another trap on there. So when I'm done this set, it's going to have 4 operating traps, and hopefully I'll end up with 4 rats. Alright, so it's just a matter of nailing these together. I do have 1.5 Duke here. That's what I basically all use for rats now. Nice and heavy trap that they submerge the animal basically as soon as you catch them, that they can't come up and crawl back up on the set in that. So all I do is I basically, even though it's upside down, I'm just going to measure, make sure I have enough room for that trap there, and I'm going to nail it. Off for now. So the first piece is nailed on there, as you can see. Now my next measurement, again, you don't need a tape measure in that, you can do it all by eye in that. Again, I'm going to want enough room for 2 traps in between these 2 logs. So there's going to be 1 there roughly, 1 there, and then again on the back side of this log here, I'm going to want room for another trap. So it's basically I'm going to have to cut off about 3 inches after it's built, so I'll just nail this in position here. So I'll flip it over, I'll put the 4 traps on it, and I'll show you basically what I mean when I'm building this new style. Okay, so I got all 4 traps set, and I'll just give you a better idea what I'm talking about here. Give you a close-up. Again, this was my normal setup there. I used to only have 2 traps, one on each side of this log on the inside, but now I've extended it to have a trap on the outside of these logs. You can see right there. So next step I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off the excess off the end of this. Again, I didn't use a tape measure or nothing. You could just do it all by eye. You could even shorten this up a little bit, that these traps were a little tighter on there, but I'm just going to remove that. Get a rough idea where I have to cut it. And it's just a matter of taking the saw and there's still lots of room for that trap to sit on there. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten these traps to this set, to this float, and what I use are fence staples. You can see they're just like this. Get them at any hardware store, and I'm going to put 1 on for each trap. Okay, so here's another one I just finished. Again, the last one was made from a couple of pine logs. Actually, it was a log that I split. This one here, you can see it's just made out of old scrap lumber. Again, the bottom board here is a fence board. The two bottom pieces here are old 2x4s. It was just scrap lumber that I cut up, and then I just I tore down an old cedar rail fence. So I decided to use that for extra buoyancy in the water and that. But again, it's set up for 4 traps. You do not have to measure this when you're making them. You just go by eye. But just to give you a rough measurement how long this board is, it's 46 inches. And that'll depend on what you're going to use for your main float there. You can make it narrower or longer, but again, this set's going to be set up for 4 traps. And so again, that's my style of floats for muskrats. As you can see, this is the first one I built, made out of chunk of pine. And this one's just old scrap lumber that was lying around, and they'll both work fine. With these floats, what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the muskrat's habits. As anyone that knows that traps muskrats there, they like to get up, they like to groom themselves. They have feed beds, they have toilets, and basically what we're doing is we're just duplicating that on the creek system. They definitely work fine. Again, the only reason I went with the traps on the outside is what later on down the season there, with my inside traps didn't seem to be touched, but there was always fresh droppings on the log, so I was figuring they were coming up through the backside. So I just thought, oh, okay, solve that pretty easy. I'll just extend the board a little bit and set a trap there, and so this is your finished product. Again, doesn't have to be fancy. Muskrats aren't the smartest animals on the planet, so yeah, I bait it with carrots just as an attractor, and I lure it up the odd time there. But again, we're just taking advantage of the habits of the muskrats, as they always like to get up on high and dry to groom themselves and eat and stuff like that. So on that little note, we're just going to let you go and definitely give these a try. They definitely work for me. Like I say, 99.9% of my muskrats are caught on these, and they're great because they fluctuate with the water up and down and that. So on that little note, we're just going to let you go and hope to see you on the next adventures at Trappers, Trails, and Tales. Later, guys.